2006, of course, this is a well-known story. You're brought in, Amy Winehouse brings you in to work with her. But I'm curious to get a sense of how you began to think about your role, like, producer like Nile Rodgers or Brian Eno or even Dr. Dre, like they all do different things and bring different things to the artists they work with. Like sometimes they're playing instruments, sometimes they're singing backing vocals. Obviously, technology has changed the role of producers in huge ways and has enabled them to do even more things. At that time, how did you sort of see your role? Did you see yourself as somebody who'd be brought in to like shape existing music or create music or channel what an artist was trying to do? Like, how did you even? Let's just talk about Amy Winehouse, for example. Like, how did you even start?
It's so different with each artist, and usually if there's somebody that comes in a room and plays me some demos and you're excited, that is the thing that just tells you everything that you're about to do. My friend Richard Russell, who wrote a great book, Everything is Recorded, who started XL Recordings, he said something that, obviously it's very, very loose job description. He said, a good producer is just a series of making the right decisions. It's almost like every artist presents a choose your own adventure that is going to change which way you go. But with Amy specifically, she came in and she said, I'm working on this album. And I said just the most obvious thing that occurred to me, well, what do you want it to sound like? And she said, well, they play a lot of this stuff down at my local, which was called the Good Mixer, this pub in Camden where she liked to shoot pool. And she played me the Shangri-Las. And I had some loose affiliation with that kind of pop music because, anyone who's seen like a Scorsese film, like someone's getting beat up and thrown in the trunk, they're playing a song like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I thought it was just so cool. I thought she was so cool and smart. And I just thought, okay, I've never done anything like that, but I definitely would like to try with this person. So she went home back to her hotel that night, and I just stayed up all night, and I was just experimenting. I sat at the piano for a bit, and I came up with the keys to Back to Black, and then I just thought, okay, what does that music sound like? Okay, there's some tambourine with some spooky reverb, so I just did boom, tss, boom, tss. And she just came in the next day, and she dug it, and she said, yeah, this is what I want my album to sound like. And she stayed, and she had some other songs that she had written that she would just play me, write down a chord diagram, and have to really map out the chords like tab, because I didn't know all these complicated jazz chords that she was playing. And then she would leave for the night, and I would do the same thing, come up with a arrangement, drum beat, whatever felt good, and play it for the next morning. And usually, that's how we did Wake Up Alone and I'm No Good. And usually if she liked it the next day, she'd put a demo vocal, and that would be the demo.
And she would write lyrics.
She had the lyrics. So Back to Black was the only one that she wrote the lyrics to the music, but everything else she had the music and the lyrics. So she would do that, and so we were both sort of just not making it up on the spot, because it wasn't like we were just throwing crap at the wall. It was just it was so clear to me from what she wanted and what her songs were, what it needed. But of course that's completely subjective. Another producer would have heard it a completely different way. So and that's what it's always been like. I mean, another time when I got together with Lady Gaga to work on the Joanne album, she came in, and I think she was coming off the Tony Bennett record. She can sing anything, obviously. Yeah. And I think because of the Amy records I'd done and stuff, people maybe thought that I was really well versed in jazz and big band arrangements and stuff like that. And I think she had an idea that maybe that's the kind of record that we were going to do, maybe. And she came in, and she had said, and I got the song Joanne, and she started to sing it like a Peggy Lee almost thing. Joanne, it's about my aunt. She explained the story, and I was like, well, I don't know, from the sentiment and everything that you're telling me, and just sitting here in this very beautiful Rick Rubin Shangri-La setting, like I'm just hearing this Stevie Nicks guitar thing that's like much more Lindsey Buckingham, and that's kind of how we went. So you're just always looking for cues, like emotional, social, musical cues from the person right in front of you, or the universe, whatever it is. It's always like no record has ever ended up where I thought it was going to be on day one. That's for sure.
What was it about Amy Winehouse? Because I've seen you describe that relationship as an instant connection.
Yeah.
Like, and you really, I mean, you worked together briefly, not briefly, but it wasn't.
It was
right.
pretty brief. Yeah, absolutely.
But there was an intense connection quickly.
Yeah. There's just some people that you meet, and we've all had it, where you just meet someone later in your life, you're like, oh, I could have known you my whole life. Like, we're my best friend now. I think there was obviously some shared things, like a North London Jewish family background or whatever, and a huge, overwhelming passion for hip hop and soul music, being two white musicians. But that was it. Just instantly, I liked her so much, and that's probably part of the reason I stayed up all night that first night coming out with Back to Black, because I was just like, there's no way I want this person to leave and go back to England tomorrow. And that was the connection that we had.
That, obviously that, what happened with that record and its success and the Grammy Awards and the recognition that all of you got from that record really just kind of transformed your career, and you became famous as well after that record. How did you? I know that there was a sort of a weird period where Amy, she kind of accused you and other producers for taking credit for the record, and I think your response was like, "That's her. It's all her. That record is entirely her."
Yeah. I think it was just me she was taking a shot at. I think she was watching TV, and we hadn't spoken in a while, and I'm talking about Back to Black or something, I don't know, and she's just like, probably was just thinking like, man, fuck this guy taking all this credit. We made up 2 weeks later. But I wouldn't say it's guilt, but the wild success of Back to Black, which put me on the map, had a majority to do with Amy putting her pain just out there for the world. And yes, I found the really lovely, probably, arrangements that complemented it, and I was just so enamored with her and wanted to constantly impress her,
Yeah.
That I'm sure I know I earned my check, but yes, of course, the fact that these artists and many artists I've worked with, they're the ones it's their deep dark shit that's sending the millions of people to want to listen to it and absorb it and feel absolved of their own pain. And the role of the producer is just to make sure it sounds as good as possible, like all the window dressing is there. So yeah, that's not to say like, listen, producers, we don't all have our own demons and going through shit, but with something like Back to Black, of course, I always felt like, okay, I've done quite well of something that's about somebody else's pain.
If you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire episode, click right here.